Man, those look like some big ones out here in 40 foot. That's a decent one, I think. Well, guys, we broke down and bought the forward-facing sonar. As much as I've been fighting it and prolonging it the last couple of years, you know, I just finally came to the realization that it is the future of competitive fishing, whether we like it or not. So I've just got to embrace it and learn it, or I'm going to get left behind. So in today's video, we are going to talk about it, talk about my setup, talk about my first look, my first trip actually fishing with it, you know, how I'm gonna have to strategize with this new technology on my boat, and my takeaways. So stay tuned. So guys, I'm definitely a little bit behind the curveball. I guess this technology's been out for 5 years now, and you know, I guess you could call me an old school fisherman. I've never been completely against the forward-facing sonar. I just felt like it would hinder my style of fishing by getting it, because you know, I hear all these guys talking about how it's just changed the way they fish, and not all for the good, but some for the bad. You know, they'll just sit and stare at one or two fish, and you know, not even realize that an hour has passed, and they've wasted all that time on a fish that's not going to bite. So you know, that was kind of my viewpoint on it. But you know, I'm actually filming this video on Sunday. It's the final day of the Bassmaster Elite Series on Toledo Bend. And you know, if you've been watching that tournament, you know that they have been absolutely wrecking them, using forward facing, you know, fishing a little minnow bait for these suspended fish on forward facings, and it has just completely dominated that tournament, and it's been dominating a ton of tournaments in the last couple of years, especially the cold water tournaments. You know, it's just hard to beat that technology when you can see exactly where the fish is. You know, those suspended fish that years ago were just like an astonishment if you could get those to bite. And now these guys are making it look easy with forward-facing sonar. So seeing stuff like that just really opened my eyes. I realized that I've got to learn it, or I'm just going to be completely left behind. You know, I can get away with it right now, but I think, you know, as technology continues to progress, I mean, we've seen how much it has changed in the last 5 years. As it continues to progress, I mean, the guys not using it are just going to be left behind, other than, you know, your shallow water fisheries, you know, spawn time. But to compete a full 12 months out of the year, as bad as I hate to say it, I think you've got to have it. You know, it's not fun to watch. It's not. You know, I don't enjoy watching these pro tournaments as much as I used to. But although I do like watching it now that I have the technology to learn. Even though it's not as fun to watch, at least I'm learning. But so enough of that ramble. I ended up going with the Humminbird Mega Live, and you know, before you start dogging me in the comments, I know it's, you know, a lot of people have bad things to say about it. They say it's definitely the worst of the three main brands as far as forward facing. And you know, I haven't been around the Garmin much. I have been around the Rance Active Target, and the active target is really clear. But just from what I saw my first trip, the Humminbird Mega Live is nowhere near as bad as people are making it out to sound. And you know, I'm pretty sure I still have an update left on the transducer itself for bait tracking. So you know, I could tell bait tracking was not super great, but at this point right now, just learning the technology, I'm at such an advantage of just being able to see those fish live time and see, you know, how they're acting the bait, and see where they are moving to on the area that I'm fishing in. You know, it's just making my cast so much more effective, and it's just crazy. I can't believe I've waited this long to finally get it. But so why I went with this setup, I already run Humminbirds. I'm very familiar with them. I love everything about the Humminbirds. I've got the One Boat Network, and that's where I can share all the information across all of my units. So I can actually run the Mega Live on this graph at the console, and my Solix and my Helix up there, either one, whichever one I want to choose. And I can do the same with my Humminbird 360. And another thing is the power consumption. The max amp draw for the Mega Live is 0.9 amps, and you know, that's like half an amp less than the other two brands. And so that's going to be a key player for me as I'm running all my electronics off one AGM battery. And you know, that's also my cranking battery. And you know, most guys run all their electronics on one battery, but you know, a price tag is really what kept me from buying forward-facing sonar for so long, because I would have had to buy a battery. I would have had to buy a graph if I would have chosen the Rants. And that price tag would have just been running up, and everything's super expensive right now. So I ended up getting that transducer for $600, and that's all I had to pay for, because I already had the graphs, already had my battery set up. But back to that power consumption, that's key. I run all my electronics off my cranking battery. I've also got my fish lung unit live well system running off of, so I don't ever want to run into any problems and not be able to crank my battery and get my boat running, especially if I'm in a tournament. But so far, I really haven't even seen a difference in my voltage. So anyways, up on the front of the boat, I have a Solix 12 and a Helix 10. And, I'm still trying to figure out which one I want to use. I ran it the first trip, I ran it on the Helix 10 for the most part. But it's a smaller screen, but I'm used to running my 360 and my map on my Solix. So, I'm going to swap those up the next time I go and run my Mega Live on the Solix 12. That bigger screen just make a huge difference in being able to see my bait and stuff. First looking at my first trip using it, I only had 3 or 4 hours to play around before work, so I didn't do a ton actually sight fishing with it, so to say. I just dialed in my settings a little bit and just pulled up to a spot I knew fish were at and just watched them move around on Livescope. And it's crazy how much they move. I ended up throwing a Ned rig pretty much all day and catching them. And, I was fishing on the bottom, so I didn't really actually see those fish eat. And it was windy, so I spot locked in the wind. So a lot of the time that I was catching the fish, I actually was not looking at my Livescope. But, it set me up to be able to make those efficient casts and where I needed to spot lock my boat, wherein I wasn't casting blindly, so to speak. Going forward, I did sit on a group of fish probably for about 45 minutes, and it only felt like probably 10 minutes. So I'm definitely, my timing is what I'm gonna have to work on big time on my strategy. Knowing when to leave those fish, when to sit on those fish, and that's just going to come along with time spent on the water fishing with it, learning the characteristics of these fish that are being stingy and those that are being aggressive, and just being able to tell between the ones that are going to bite and the ones that aren't even worth spending my time on. Another thing I'm going to have to work on is being more subtle with the trolling motor, because that Mega Live transducer is attached to my trolling motor shaft. So it's reading off by what direction I'm pointing the trolling motor. I'm used to just being real aggressive and turning that thing super fast. And you're not gonna get a good image of those fish if you're doing that. And that's something that I was just like, wow, this is gonna completely change the way that I fish. But just being more subtle on that foot pedal for the trolling motor to be able to pan slowly. And especially when I'm watching these fish and they get out of the cone angle perspective, if they're going to the right, just knowing to be able to follow to the right slowly and be able to get that image, or if they're going to the left, just to be more subtle and get that transducer in the perfect angle to see those fish, to set me up for the perfect cast. But yeah, guys, overall, the other day when I went, it was fun. It was eye-opening for sure to know just how much I've been missing out on by using this forward-facing technology. But like I said before, it is the future. I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's just going to continue to progress. And like I said, in the last couple of years, it's just been crazy how much it's progressed. You very rarely see those guys beating the bank in these big tournaments. As I mentioned that, that could be something that starts happening. Being a little sneaky about, as everybody's out on the open water scoping these fish, that leaves the bank wide open. And I'm going to take advantage of that, and I have the last couple of years, and it's benefited me sometimes. And then a lot of times I just got my brakes beat off by the scopers out there. So I'm going to embrace this technology and learn it. If I want to continue to fish competitively, I want to give myself the potential to be able to use all the tools that I can to be able to catch these fish. So yeah, guys, that's where I'm at on that. I'm looking forward to getting back out there and learning a lot more with this technology. And I think it'll be neat for those of you that are watching that are looking to get forward facing or just got forward facing and wanting to learn. I kind of want to take you out on the water with me and have you learn as I learn. I think that would be really cool. So that's what I'm going to aim to do with this. But anyways, guys, if you got any questions, drop them below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, and please subscribe to my channel. We'll see you in the next one.